It's very busy. Hello. It's the 25th of March. And I'm going to answer questions, talk to you about stuff, talk to you about kind of things that are going on around me. I kind of got in my question pool that when I opened up the chat, underneath the comments, underneath my posting about this. Hi, Faye. I kind of got some questions I thought I might get because if you've ever heard readers talk about much of anything, they always talk about how we tend to pull in what's going on around us. And flat out, what's been going on around me is, I got COVID just before Christmas. I was kind of sick in and out of all of cartomancy. I'm going to answer your question. I kind of got didn't quite recover, was having a hard time getting over it. So finally they decided, for the better part of discretion, to put me on a heart monitor. They monitored my heart for 30 days. And I had what they call in that a cardio event. Didn't that sound interesting? Anyway, my cardio event, it ends up was my heart was beating irregularly, and one Sunday it was beating at more than 200 beats per minute for over 20 minutes. The monitoring people saw it. I did not feel ill. I didn't feel anything. But with an even more abundance of caution, I spent more than half a day at a doctor's office this last week, having them look at me from soup to nuts, all up in my chest and my heart and my lungs and everything. And the good news is that although I'm in my early 70s, I have a heart that looks something like a person in their 60s, which I'll take 10 years on it. Nothing was structurally wrong from the echocardiogram. I do not have the stress test part yet back, but I'm feeling much better because there was this lingering fear every time the doctors talked to me about it. It was like, well, it could be this, it could be that. And they did put me on a very mild medicine just to stop my hypertension from going up if it chooses to decide to go up. And I'm not real happy with that because I've gained 10 pounds taking those pills. And I looked them up, and that's one of the things they're known for. So my doctor and I are going to have a discussion and figure out another better way to deal with this. But anyway, I'm back. I'm feeling better. And what came of all that was and the reason I've decided to call this little group together today is I did some things I'd wanted to do for a long time, but I just never done. If you go to my website now, www.crystaldirections.com, you can see over 100 of the grids I've built in the last year posted. So if you want to see what they look like, and they're all different, and they're all for all sorts of different occasions. And it was really good for me to go back and categorize them and put them together and look at all of them and go, yeah, I really did all this. This has happened in the last year. And I wanted to talk to you about, I typed the invitation to this wonderful meeting right after I woke up in the middle of the night. And this is kind of the vision I had, is that one of the reasons that things are going differently in Ukraine than a certain Russian individual would have chosen is because, in a way, they have one incredible leader at the front of them, but everybody's leading. Everybody's picking up. Everybody's taking part in it. And I've become aware in studying sacred geometry and looking at the forms and looking at, people call me up and they say, why do rocks speak to me? And, I didn't really deal with much with crystals before 2018. So what you're hearing is from a person who's just immersed herself in this for the last 4 years. But what the rocks led me to the sacred geometry, which led me to an understanding of universal vibrations, which led me to what we're going to be talking about on later this weekend I have a show with Danny and Andrea from Lilac Lantern, Danny from Bathrobe, Taro, not Bathroom Taro, bad. And we talked about using pendulums, and Danny and I found a particularly good source for learning how to use pendulums, and that's something he and I have worked on in the last 3 months. So that show is really going to happen, guys. And I'm also going to do some weekday shows over here on the other camera showing how to use pendulums. You don't need to pray for me. I think it's going away. I asked my guides what had I done, and it said I kept extending. I've been extending and extending and extending out my heart chakra and trying to work with all that, and it bumped into something that made it afraid, and so my whole heart chakra shrunk back into being the fortified little chunk it used to be when I was really, really overweight. It used to be the main center of what I used to call Fort Fat, and my heart came running back into my body. But what I didn't understand, and what I'm beginning to understand, is that we're not alone. I'm never really alone. I felt, even in a crowded room and even with 3 little kids and everything else I did in my life, there were periods of time where I felt very alone, and I don't feel alone anymore. I feel like we're in a position where each one of us is learning our own skills and our own ways of measuring our skills, and we are all learning how to move together. So the reason, it's like when you see schools of fish, and I don't know if you've ever scuba dived or done snorkeling, but I've done snorkeling in Hawaii, and you get down there and these fish all swim together like a little golden river, and you think, well, which fish is leading them? Well, in actual fact, they're energetically connected together and they're moving through the water as a whole, because that's the best protection. And I've been talking about the energy change. I've been talking about moving away from the protective cloud that we had over us, and how we're all going through incredible energetic changes, and that the ascension isn't like we get on an elevator and go up to a different part of the world where everything's all beautiful and fluffy and soft. But our ability to see what's going on around us changes, and that's what I'm going to talk to you about. Because last night when I rolled over, I realized everybody's leading, that we have lived in a history of mass thoughts where this happens, so you have to go run in a corner and be afraid. And I can tell you the kind of fear that watching what's happening in Ukraine does to me. In a past life regression, we realized that in my last physical life on this earth, I died in a bombing in London. And so looking at bombed out buildings, I understand that. I mean, I feel it in my head, but the emotions of what goes on with that kind of hits me when I see scenes like that. So I look at it because I realize that, I'm not that woman that was in that shelter that died. That my soul came out of it better and stronger and came into this life to do some interesting good things. So I don't discount death at all, and I don't want to go run and do it, which is part of why I was fighting so hard about my heart. But history is a bunch of mass thoughts that have taught us how to be afraid as an individual instead of opening up to the universe, and that a community in love starts with each of us being responsible for our own hearts, for our own energy in the heart, and how to spread it out, and how to send love and light. And we must acknowledge the fact that there is uncertainty. That's part of the randomness of the universe. There's always kind of this, in the faith I was raised in, the Christian church, that someday God's going to stop everything, and everybody, those who go are going to go one place, those who are going to go to another, kind of had a real conclusion and an end. And it kind of didn't leave you with a lot of uncertainty except where you'd end up. And I personally, once I got more into the spiritual side of the faith instead of the dogmatic side of the faith, I felt much more comfort, because then I felt like something was holding me, something was taking care of me, something was giving me strength. And we must learn right now, we're being pushed, whether you want to change your vibration or not. You are being pushed into a new vibrational realm called the 5th dimension, the 5th ascension, the 5th level. And there's levels beyond that that we're going to have to get to, but we need to find those with whom we can vibrate and connect and feel whole. And that's some of what we talk about using a pendulum for, to feel what your vibrational level is. And once you can kind of say, oh yeah, that really does feel good. I'm over here. I'm in 900, 800, 1,000. And as opposed to being down in the third dimension in the 300 to 400s where you're living in fear and abject horror, that's what you need to do. And you need to walk through your fears. You have to walk through them. You can't run from them. That does not work. You have to walk through it. And that's kind of what I got this week. I went through the fears and I found out what's going on, and I can accept whatever changes I might have to make in my lifestyle to deal with it. But I'm going to do that. And I'm doing that by finding my own new thoughts, by understanding how I'm one speck in that great pattern of fish that's swimming through the universe. And we all are. And that great changes are going to come to us, and we're going to have some really new enlightening things come to us. It's like I've knitted a pattern of my life, and now I go back and I look what I'd already constructed, and I realized that pattern's wrong. It doesn't fit with what I need to create. And what I want to do is kind of, when I knit, I always try to knit everything to be perfect, but I'm just acknowledging the fact those are there, and I do have the option to go tear them out. I can also say that's not really part of my whole pattern, or start a whole new pattern. But I want to really knit out and abandon those things that no longer function in my life. So I guess I'm taking that blanket apart. And there's a part in my garden when I was channeling, and it's the throat chakra. It's right here. And what I wrote in the throat chakra was, whenever I refer to, when I was channeling for the garden, whenever anything's in a building, that means it's locked up in your ego. And in this particular scenario, I was part of a group of people that was supposed to build something like sort of a reality show, but we were in this warehouse. And I was there with an older man who I didn't really know who he was, but he sort of like played Big Daddy, like he knew what he was doing, and he really didn't. And then there was a woman who was running the show, who was running around in a Betty Crocker apron. And she was telling everybody how to do it and what to do and where to go and what to be. But it ended up the real secret to accomplishing this task. I'm gonna answer, Andrea, you've asked a question several people asked, and I'm gonna answer that one about where do we go now. But in this scenario, the kid who really kind of knew where things were supposed to be was a bratty little 11-year-old who wasn't terribly happy about helping us and on the project, and he kind of took off, and the stuffy man went away, and I was sort of left with the project. But I realized the only way I could achieve the project was to drag it into the light, to take it outside of the structure I was in, and to let it be in the light and be in the wind and be in the rain if rain came, or the air, the water, whatever, that only by airing it. And that's what is in communication, and that's where I think we are now. We're on the loading dock ready to launch the good things we can do into the world. So basically the message I got out of when I was writing all this stuff out frantically last night is discover yourself for yourself. And then you can find a new community if you need to. You may be lucky and be in the right community now. But that's where we are. And that's kind of where questions I got today came from, because the first one that posted was, I got the same one, and I'm going to roll the crystals for each person, because that only seems fair somehow. Oops, okay. And I'm trying to watch you guys, but I can't watch the chat, and so if you have a question, a legitimate real question, you need to put it in capitals, because otherwise I have no hope of finding it. Anyway, I'm going to throw stones on the things, and there are MH, Sin, McGinn, Lakeisha, and now Andrea in the chat all asked her, what does Spirit really want me to know right now? So the first person I'm going to do is MH. Oh. Pretty much kind of what I expected to see. This, you know, the stones here are body, mind, spirit, grounding, and clarity. And if you've watched any of my daily duos with Danny, with Jeffrey, you understand those completely. And we have clarity falling in the sacral chakra, and it says that creativity is needed to harmonize your intentions, and you're dealing in part with things from the past. And you can learn, you're learning from the lessons you've had in the past. And that's what your spirit wants you to do. Your body is emerging. Your body is moving forward. It's in the space of earth, and earth is where things grow from. And physical changes are actually coming towards you. The other one that's in the air is your values are in air and water. And you have mental actions. No, this is the one I want. Yeah, mental actions are the path for towards your abundance. And I happen to know who this person is, and that's absolutely true for you right now. And grounding changes. You need to ground in the changes that are happening around you. But your spirit is in the right place, girl. You've got spirit and true. And it says spirit goes forward in total harmony with the path you're on. Now the outlier was the mind, your mental attitude. And your mental attitude right now is in path forward and false. And when it's in path forward, it is saying you need to watch for the signs and look for what's the signs and synchronicities that are happening around you to open it up to you, and pay attention to them, because your mind may try to mislead you. And I think in the case of this person, I know her well, your mind's going to try to draw you back, and instead of pulling on the positive things you've learned how to do, it's going to draw you towards the negative. So, but you have all these other incredibly positive stones. So if you deal with them, you're going to be fine. That's what your spirits are telling you. Is you've got a new world coming in around you, emerging and changing. Don't be afraid. Move forward. Don't get tied up in that bad mental energy. Now, Sin McN, what are your guides and spirits trying to tell you? Wow, girl. You got that's a real spread out reading. I'm going to start from your root. Your values, your grounding is coming from the root chakra, and that says you're being energized right now to find the things that make you feel secure. And the clarities tells me that creativity is needed right now for you to harmonize with your intentions, but you know from your very base where you need to go. And you may have had problems in the past in acknowledging that base energy in your body, so you need to tie into it. Then your spirit is in earth, and that would make sense with this, because spirit's transforming right now really rapidly for you, but it's not quite finished, because you're still, and this is fire, fire's south, fire's ancestors, fire is past life. And it says you need to embody your past instead of ignoring it and saying it wasn't there. That means facing your fears, not running from them. And your mind says clarification comes from dealing things in the past. Okay, in your case, you know innately, you have the root chakra here, you know innately how to deal with the world. But what you're doing now, and you need that clarity, it's coming towards you. Your spirit is transforming so quickly, and sometimes that kind of scares you, so you fall back on old patterns. Don't. Take the next bright step forward. Breathe. Breathe. If you don't do anything else, breathe, Sin. And Lakeisha. Lakeisha, what's Spirit telling you? Oh, okay. Spirit's telling you that use the lessons you've learned from in the past. That's your Spirit stone. It's there. And then you're dealing with a lot of old ancestral stuff also, things that are coming up, because you've got in your fire, you have your mind, you've got your mind, your clarification, and your values. And your values actually fell right in there because I looked like it might be close. But you use the ideas from the past lives, and you're tying into past life energy, by the way, right now, to figure out how to solve this problem. What is coming up now is a problem you had from a life before, and you're getting re-challenged to clear that karma up right now. And your mind is telling you, do not become too tied to false ideas. So you're having some new creative ideas come forward that are clarifying for you, and this whole little chunk you're dealing with your past, girl, and that's what your spirits want you to do. They do not want you to ignore it. They do not want you to play the game. It's not here. It's not here, because with the earth, what your body's offering you is physical changes are clearly coming into your life. I don't know if you've had a physical pain, you can never figure out where it was coming from, and now you're trying to solve that, and so you can move forward. Now would be the time, but you need to meditate and open yourself up. Your guides will let you know whether it's a true physical pain or it's just a guilt or a feeling you've carried with you. But remember, when we tie into the old programming and the old things we knew from before, they're not valid for us now. We're a totally different thing. You're not a 5-year-old, you're not a 10-year-old, and you're not even an infant. You are whatever age you are. So, Andrea, what does Spirit say for you? Okay. Ooh, you got to go for it, girl. And it says that your grounding right now is in go for it and root. So your root chakra is already giving you great ideas. It energizes an understanding of what makes you feel secure. And your problem is you're just not going for it. All is aligned for you to move forward with your values. And your clarity is moving clearly out. It's in water. And you have all the clarity you need. You know what you need to do. I mean, and it's not that you intellectually know. You feel it. You feel it in your gut. And that's the most important place to feel it. You can move forward with that. And you also have your spirit in the past with your mind. And when that happens, it means spirits, you miss how many times you've transformed. You miss your own transformation because you're so worried about, am I transformed enough? Yeah, you are. Just understand it. And in the past, for the mind, it says, break from the previous patterns and learn from your new experiences. And your body is in restate, which is an interesting place for it to show. Yeah, okay. This is all great. You're not letting yourself feel it. You're not letting it enter into your body. You're not letting it into yourself on a cellular level so that you can move forward. And that's what you really need to do now. MH also wanted to know if we're going to have a bad tornado season this year. And I think I'm going to do a pendulum for that, because that's kind of more of a yes-y, no-y thing. And as we all know, the grids don't do yes-no all that well. And you think, I had all morning to get this together, and did I? No. Okay. This is the chart that Danny and Andrea and I are going to talk about, and I hope you can see it well enough. But the way I work with a pendulum is I swing it, and I'm going to ask if we're going to have a yes-no about a long. I'm going to ask if it's going to be more dangerous tornadoes first, and then if it's going to be a longer season than first. So, okay, do I have permission to douse? Yes. Am I aligned with my higher self? Yes. Am I fully protected? And that's a really important question to ask when you're working with pendulums, because to me, they're a much more direct form of energy passing through people. If you're not used to that, it's a way to get used to it. Okay, it's yes. Okay. First question is, are we going to have a longer tornado season? Because it's already started where I am early and the storms have been pretty severe. So are we going to have a longer tornado season than we normally expect? It goes yes. Okay. Are we going to have much stronger tornadoes? Because you're going to have a whole lot of little ones. They're problematic, but not the same. Are we going to have some large storms, some large tornadic storms in this tornado season. It's thinking about it. No, we're not going to have, we're just going to have a ton more, but we're not going to have that much stronger, but just a lot of them. That's the answer to that one. Karen, so I'm going to go back into the garden for Karen J. Oh, no. Yeah, I'm going to do Karen J first. And I need to find my stones. Where'd the other one go? Oh, they're all there. Okay. This is for Karen J. is recovering from chemo. You can tell time on the garden too, so I'm going to try to get more directly into it. And I'm going to cast stones to see about when you're going to really start to feel better from the chemo, because I know that takes a while. Okay. Summer. You're going to feel much better this summer. This is winter, spring, summer, fall. And when you lay your garden out, whatever the furthest quadrant from you is winter, spring, summer, fall. This, you've had some glimmerings of feeling better, but it's really going to be in the summer and later summer that you're going to really feel better about this. And I'm going to try to read about the physical path you're going through. Have you been, I think you've been doing some meditation from the mind being between root chakra and sacral chakra. I think you've been doing some meditating and trying to remember a healthy body. You're working on some kind of a meditation about remembering a healthy body. And I think it's beginning to come through for you to feel that way. You have your clarity and air, and I think the message from this stone is meditate every single day. Just don't wait until you say, oh God, I need to meditate today because I'm feeling sick. It's not like a pill you take. It's like a practice you create. And you need to find a really happy gratitude meditation that lights up that part of your brain. And that's a real thing. There have been scientific studies when they do gratitude meditations. It lights up the part of your brain that helps you heal and makes you feel better. And then on the moving around to when you're going to start to really feel better, you've got the path forward for you is... the more and more you practice this, the more and more you're going to create this abundant. Your body is going to emerge from where it's been to where it needs to go. And your spirit is actually learning. I don't know if you've ever done any past life work, but I think you had a serious illness in a past life and it didn't turn out as well. You need to cast that thought out. You can do just fine this time through. So don't let old creepy thoughts, and those are the ones you get at 3 a.m, let that go. If you do the practice of meditation, you'll get stronger and stronger, and you have a whole new body emerging for you. This is the physical body stone. A whole new body's emerging for you. That's Karen and her recovery from chemo. And Tammy has been growing like a little weed, like many people have been, and I have been too, so I'm just as guilty. And trust me, when I get growing too fast, my body says, whoa, lady, you don't need to grow this fast. But we're going to see about guidance for Tammy's emerging spiritual sense. Okay. Speak your truth, girl. No matter what else is going on, and you've got really interesting, you are so grounded in your root chakra, and you are connecting with your spirit, which is exactly what you need to do, because you need to communicate to get your path forward. And the throat shows here that ideas and wisdom are flowing so openly through you that you're shocking yourself. You're going, how do I know that? Where does that come from? But you do. Trust that you do. Because it says, look carefully at omens as you move along. You're getting all kinds of messages telling you how to move. Follow them. Follow through with them. And you'll be fine. And then your values Our air is when things are moving out. That means that your grounding and your values are moving, are not moving away from you, but your thoughts are becoming much more clear. You're getting much more into trusting your body. I don't know what that's all about, but you're trusting your body now because you're grounding your thoughts. Now your thoughts are exactly locked between earth and fire. And your thoughts and fire do not become too tied to things in the past, and the earth says final thoughts and situations are coming. So I think you've gone through this incredible growth period. Stick with what your spirit's telling you. It's telling you the truth of what's coming forward. But you have to, I don't know if you journal, I don't know if you have a spiritual group you meet with and you talk to them, but you need to have a way to express your spiritual growth with people, and I'm working on a way to try and create that with I don't know if you've seen the Ascension Playground with Ursula, but she's got some interesting things going on there, and we may try to put together a group with my channel and her channel, people that own grids or own eggs or own something like that, and just people who want to come along and try to create a community where people can share and have a community of trust. Because so many people are growing, but they feel alone. And remember what I said at the beginning of this show. We are like a school of fish. And instinctively, when we open our energy out and feel the energy of the other fish around us that we can trust, we can move through these difficult times with more grace. Okay, Elaine, I've answered a whole lot of this, but what's Elaine's way of dealing with the world she feels is falling apart? Now, I don't know if you mean you watch too much news or if personally your life is falling apart. But we're gonna say, what does Elaine need to be doing right now? What are the stones? What does her body need to do to seek balance for her life? And your spirit rolled right off the root chakra, girl. Okay, spirit and root chakra again. This must be the theme of the day, I tell you. And connection comes to you. No, that's the wrong one. Connection through the spirit is what you really need now. In all situations. And unlike before where I had fire coming from earth, I have fire and water. And that's a good combination for your mind. Where you need to be mentally in dealing with this is don't become too tied to the past. That's what the mind means. This is past life. This is ancestral stuff. This is part of what you brought in on your life. You can be aware of it, but you don't need to say, oh, it's always happened that way. That's all I'm going to get, because you got water. And it says you need to let go of limitations. So I think that way I read that is correct for you. You tend to immediately fall back on this is what I've always done. And I don't know if you've ever watched much of Joe Dispenza, but he talks a lot about how we program ourselves, and most of us are programmed by the time we're 35, and we're like little computers that can't let go of those programs. And that's what I was talking about the blanket. If I knit and then I decide I don't need that pattern in anymore, I need to go back and take that pattern out and said, you're not part of this, and then knit a whole new structure. And that's kind of where you are, and you have the skills to do it. You really have the skills to do it, because your clarity and your values are in air. And in case y'all are wondering, I'm looking at my cheat sheet so that I don't, because my mind gets going so fast I can't remember it all. Just make sure when you're thinking about something, it's clear. This would talk about going back to this. And the real key for you in this is mental actions are the path for your abundance. So whatever is going to make you feel more full and more clear and less fear is what you need to hang on to, because you are birthing a whole new body. You have physical changes and changes that are coming around you, but they can be positive. They don't all have to be scary. And I understand that if I can find it, Danny and I did a show a long time ago about frequencies and theories on frequencies. And there's a thing, and you can find it on the YouTubes, and I'll find it and I'll get it posted. I won't do it today. because I've got other stuff I need to do today. But it starts where someone pulls a whole rack of white balls back, and they're all on strings, but they're all on different strings, if you've ever seen the inside of a piano, with a long string on one end and a short string on the other, but they're all the same size ball. And they let them go, and at first they're all swinging just totally evenly, and then they start to get a little bit out of line and a little bit, and finally they're just in utter chaos. And you're like, where's this going? And then they swing back and they realign themselves and they get back into the right frequency. Where we are right now in the world is as crazy as that graphic gets when you see those beads and they're what's happening. And it just means different people are in different frequencies and they're all not moving in the same direction, and it's really hard. So if you can begin to move yourself towards a community or colony or a group of people, however you find them, and that's part of what the dowsing chart's about, is trying to teach people how to understand your own vibrations so then you can understand the vibrations of others. And then you can find people who are like-minded and will not be downers for you. So I hope that helps. Elaine, with what you've got here, you've got all the makings to make this work. It's you have to feel you can get there. Right now, when you get in your mind, you're going, I can't do it, I can't do it, I can't do it. But you can. And you will. I have confidence in you. I know you like good YouTube channels. Okay, cartomancy. What's important to do next? I'm going to ask which is the most important part of the 5 elements, the body, mind, spirit, values, and clarity. Which one is the most important for you? Let's see if I get an answer on that. Well, it's not values and it's not your mind, because they just flat-ass rolled off the board. You need to be re-looking at what you're ever physically doing right now. But I think clarity is your real answer. But your body fell in restate, and when it's in restate, it's saying that your options just aren't very clear to you, and your spirit's on fire. Your spirit thoughts of the past are clouding you moving forward. So this is your answer. This is your out, and it is the clarity stone, and it's in the future and the present, which is kind of an interesting place for things to end up. Ideas you're planting at this time will flourish, and the present is saying your clarity is coming from a variety of paths. So I think I'm going to pull a card for you, because that tells me you have the ingredients to do it. I'm just not skilled enough to pull the information in to help you move. So I'm going to pull a card, and this is what I did forever, and it's my fallback throw. Whenever else I can't figure something out, that's where I go. Okay, pick your goals. Your problem is you're not sure about your goals, and partly because you're letting some past stuff in. So if I were you, I would go, I don't know, I presume you meditate some, but I'd pull a series of cards on where your goals should go, because that's what's holding you back, is you can't pick a clear goal. Pick a goal and go for that goal. And if that goal starts to just not work out, or it feels really wrong, you can always pick another one. But I know that after I got sick, I got very scattershot, and it messed me up. And so I'm a lesson of what not to do now. I'm going to scan real quickly back here on the teeny tiny type. Can you get the stones for me? Cast, feeling sick and tired and weak. Okay, Melissa. Yeah, I'll cast the stones for you. What does Melissa need to do to gather more strength? Okay. Okay, you got it. Oh, you got clarity, and I have to read 6 different spaces for you, Melissa. And I don't mind. But I'm just saying, you got one right in the middle of everybody. But your value system in the root chakra says that you need to start feeling like you have some control, to feel more secure and to feel like you're more in charge of your own health and your own well-being. And yeah, we're in chaotic times, guys. We're all gonna kind of feel a little bit weird that way. But I think I'm gonna read the clarity stone because it hits fire, earth, falls, heart, solar plexus, and restate. So that's kind of the full armada there. And part of the problem is your dilemma that's going on around you is not well defined, and you tend to you tend to fall back into past life patterns, and actually one of them will help you understand. You've been through this before and you know how to survive it if you can pull that part out of your mental library of things I know that I may not be aware of. You have many paths ahead of you, and you will pick the correct one when it lands there. Falses. You got these two both say your vision is clouded at this time, and it's clouding your heart. Wisdom comes from a clarity of your emotions. Instead of being in your head, you need to get in your heart. I'm going to read that poem again about the person that learns to get away from their head and their heart and the fight they're having. And then solar plexus is more than one way. Yeah, you're going to have more than one way to go forward, but there's something that's going to really strike a chord with you. You're going to know it's where you need to go, and it's going to help you learn which direction to go in. Because your mind is in earth, new thoughts are emerging. And they're actually coming pretty quickly. Your body you just don't quite know what to do with your body. So you need to get more grounded and get in your head less. But basically the answer exists inside of you, and I really feel like you're close to figuring it out. I'm going to pull a card for you on getting better. Oh dear, I've been talking for 42 minutes. That's a long time. Okay. You have choices to make. And get us a raise. Okay, you got choices to make? Okay, choices to make, and you're not sure how to make them. Because when I pulled them at first, it was upside down. But I think when I'm only pulling one card, we need to read it in all its aspects. So you need to really wish for what you want. You need to really put some effort into that. And when the negative stuff comes in, just say thank you for sharing and issue it on to another format at another time. I'm looking back to see if anybody else wrote us. Oh, Carolyn. Okay. Carolyn wants to know what her spirit guides have messages for her today. Oh, and I got one more thing. 2 more things I need to tell you when I finish with this. Let me see how many more. Spirit guides. Okay. Do her an Ana Banana. Okay. Spirit guides for Carolyn. Well, whatever you've been planning to do, you just definitely need to just go for it, girl. Because you got grounding and values, and go for it. Which means all is aligned for you to go forward with your vision. You just need to take the time to do it. Get out of your... Oh, dear. get out of your own way. Sometimes you're seeking clarity from false places. Right now, I wouldn't make the decision today. I think I'd give myself a little bit of time, but because your body's going through some changes. I don't know if you've changed medications or if you're thinking about doing something like that. Oh, can somebody kill the troll that's trying to sell us pornography? And the mind is in the present. And it says signs and clues are there. You just haven't put them all together. So just give yourself a little time to put all the information together. But you're on the right track and you're ready for it. I mean, whatever's going on around you, you're really ready for it. And I heard an interesting statistic today. Oh, wait. I'm trying to get back to... Well, there was another one who Anna Banana wanted to know about... She wanted to know about her spirit guide, so I'll look at hers. Okay. Oh, you got a cool... This is great, because that's where we start to really churn and begin to do creative, wonderful things. And when the spirit falls in the sacral chakra, it means spirit is inspiring our creative energy, and you're right at the beginning of that, so that's a wonderful thing to do. You got the trifecta in the middle. Your mind is running this show right now, girl, because your mind is in mental actions, are the path for your abundance. Clarification comes from dealing with your past. More is moving forward rapidly towards you, and grab onto the grounding changes you've made, because it's all going to be moving forward. Your body's telling you something different, though. Your body's lying to you. I know. It's just, this is saying that listen to your body's signals. Don't ignore them. Don't say, oh, well, my foot twinges a bit, but I'll go out on my long walk today anyway. No, pay attention to that. You don't want to injure yourself trying to move forward. And your clarity actually comes out of your past, things you've done in the past, and your values are moving forward. You're making a giant shift towards a new abundance. So, Anna Banana, I think your guides are saying, listen to us, girl. We're trying to tell you what you need to know. Oh, Celtic Seer. You want to know about your dead aunt? Let me tell you a couple things while I'm digging out my how to read dead people cards. There it is. Wasn't expecting to be asked that. So, I'm going to do talking to heaven for you, but I'm going to ruffle the cards a bit. When I went to get these medical tests, there were two parts of them where you had to lie on a table in a very uncomfortable position for about 25 minutes each time, and you're hooked up to electrodes and your arms are up over your head. It's just, I've had this done before, and it was the part I was least looking forward to. And I had recently heard on an Archangel class I'm taking about that Metatron controls time, and so you can ask Metatron to do two things. You can say, call Metatron in and say, I have this major project and I really need every minute of today, so drag this, give me the time I need to complete the task I'm looking at. The other way you can, the other way that you can use Metatron is if you're doing something you really don't want to do and you want it to go as quickly as possible. You can call Metatron in and say, please help me pass this through this as quickly as possible. So when I got up on the table right before I got up there, I petitioned Metatron to come and enter this world and to make the time pass quickly. And I laid down, and I thought I was down like 5 minutes. I was really expecting to have to lay there a lot longer. And all of a sudden the nurse said, well, you're done. And I said, oh, I guess I must have napped. And she said, no, your eyes were open. You were listening to the music. You were humming along. But Metatron had so compacted that time in my brain. I really felt like I'd only been up there 5 minutes. So the second time I had to go do it again after I ate some food. And I hit him up again, and it was the same thing. It went very, very, very quickly. And I really don't like being on those little tables and having going ka-chunk, 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 ka-chunk around you. So that's a little tip. And it's the Archangel Metatron. Now we're going to do Celtic Seers, if she's got a message from her aunt. Oh. I'm going to put it under this because you can read them better. I think I can get where it's supposed to be. It's beautiful where I am. So she wants you to understand that she's living in light and beauty. And that's, and I'll read you the whole thing on what it's beautiful where I am. I wish that just for a moment I could share my world with you. The heavenly realm is beyond any description. It's where colors, hues, patterns, all different types just come completely alive. Was your aunt like an artist? Because this feels like a person who would really appreciate that change. Here there's brilliant light that permeates everything, and everything is filled with indescribable joy. Here you suddenly become aware that you are connected with everything. There's that message again, we're connected to everything. There is no anger or hardness in this world. Those emotions have been replaced with overwhelming peace and joy. It is the love of its finest. It is heaven, a place where where I will wait and greet you one day. So that was your other thought, and I hope you and your aunt got along because she's going to be waiting for you. That's a lovely message, I think. Okay. Oh, yes, Angelita got her egg. Oh, eggs. Oh, Angelita, be grateful you got the egg you got. I got a note from the place manufacturing my eggs, and due to supply chain problems, they're going to be able to make the eggs, but the cost went up. So I had to jack the price because I can't make them for nothing. So if you go to my website, they're now $120 instead of $88. I'm sorry that happened. They've also cut me back to one technician, so I'm going to be able, and until they can hire another one, and he was very apologetic. The guy he hired to help him quit. So until he has a second technician, he can do one, maybe 1.5 eggs a day, timing-wise. So if you want eggs, go get them now, guys, because these are getting more complicated. My other option is to decide to sell them in groups of 7 and have people buy individually. Because remember, every single egg, the crystals are hand chosen and they're handcrafted. So, Kay, travel Taro. Yeah, I have time, hun. Oh, well, I was going to tell you about trolls. You know, as soon as the internet sort of blocked Russia at the beginning of the Ukrainian, the whole mishmash with what's going on over there, 90% of the people who were trolling the doctors who were trying to pass out the information about vaccinations disappeared. 90%. That means that 90% of all the anti-vaxxer stuff was coming out of Russia. The other part is that they also were, if you need to tell me what you want me to read, Kay. What issue do you want? Or just want me to roll the stones about your spirit? But you have to tell me. Anyway, 90% of them. And also, they were funding that whole, we're going to stop the country with big trucks over this. And now they're interviewing drivers that were originally part of these convoys. And they're saying, well, the guys that kind of recruited us and was helping us buy fuel and getting us food and stuff, they've all disappeared. Why, sure they have. They're not getting Russian money anymore to do that. Buh. Idiocy. Okay. K. Okay. Okay. If Kay Travel Tarot can tell me what she wants to know, then I'll read it. Or I'm just going to do a general spirit reading for you, and you're going to kind of get what you get, girl. So I need an answer, and I need it to show up pretty damn quick. Okay, I'm going to answer Jane the Seeker because I just found her question. Are you on the correct... Okay, we're going to do that with the pendulum. Are you on the correct path with your channel? Is Jane the Seeker on the correct path with their channel? It's a yes, but it needs improvement. It's not a straight up yes. It's a yes in towards the negative. So let's see. I'm going to see if you're thinking about making a change. I'm going to see if it's going to be positive. Is the change she's going to make going to be positive? Yes. You're clearly moving into the positive. It started off here and it went over to here. So I'd say if you're thinking about altering either the point of view or how you handle your readings or what you want to do with it, go for it, and see what you want. And let me see. Okay, and who's the last person I was in? Oh, what does Spirit want you to know? Okay, this is for K Travel Taro. Okay. Wait a minute. You guys got to understand, I'm a little old lady and I have enough trouble. I've got a big screen, a little screen, and a board to read. Okay. Okay, oh. Your values are in your path forward. More abundance is about to be created, and it's aligned with your spirit, which is also there. Balance your spirit to move ahead. Are you trying to do too many things at once and you're feeling a little out of it? That may be it, because that's coming from false things. You get aligned with the situation and then you veer off and you go somewhere else. So what you need to do is really get aligned with the situation, because your body is ready to move forward. It's in the water. You need to work seriously on some grounding. You need to let go of some old ideas that are not functioning for you right now. But your clarity is ready to move forward, which is really great. And it says, what this basically says is right now your thoughts are not really clear. And so, but you already have the nugget of what you need to do to move forward. You just need to do it and quit getting sidelined by other things that keep coming up. I don't know if that helps you or not, but, oh, okay. Let's see what. Yeah, I'm really, if you watch, because this, when my hand's over, you can't see how it's working on top of the garden, but this garden, you'll find out if you watch the show with Danny and I, from here to here is from like 100 to 1,000, and that's where you check where your personal vibration is. And then we put the little chart to tell you how to interpret that. But then there's a book called Letter to Robin, and I have the thing in the description on that show on how to draw it down, and it can tell you how to do all other kinds of questions with a dowsing garden that you've never thought of. And Danny did that pretty graphic off my garden. Isn't that pretty? And let's see. Okay, we're almost at an hour. Melissa, you've got it inside you to get better. I mean, I know it's been a long time in it, and you've gone through this like twice, so. Oh, good. You got rid of the guy with no clothing. Thank you. And it'll be on this weekend. I'll announce it on my channel, and they're going to show it on their channels. So we had a really good time. We did almost an hour on it, and Danny and I had been working on this thing for 2 months. And then we found out during the same time Andrea was beginning to work with the pendulum, so we brought her around so she could talk about her experiences. I think... Wait a minute. Well... Yeah, Jane the Seeker, yes. All of our ears are ringing. And I actually, for about 2 hours last night, I was trying to figure out what was wrong, and that it stopped. But then I had last night, which woke me up and said, you have to do a show today. No, okay. You don't have to turn your freedom of choice over to others, but what you need to do is decide what is real programming that comes from your living experience right now. It's like, I don't like to look at bombed out buildings because I know from a regression that I died in one. Yeah, it brings that up, but just the sheer fact that I know that that's how I died, I don't panic. I cannot tell you as a child how terror-stricken I was every time they blew off the air raid sirens, and they blew them off every Wednesday at noon. When I was a kid growing up, I got to live through the horrifying recreation of that death, and of course I didn't understand that's what I was responding to. But once you get that understanding and you can put that in your heart and say, this is not for you now, you can let it go. And I also had an experience when I was a small child where I was almost choked to death. And because my brother caught me because I was sucking out a baby bottle and it went in the wrong way, he flipped me over and I didn't choke to death. But when I would get in extremely stressful situations, and I mean, I was a tiny little in the crib kind of baby at the time, until I came to terms with that, whenever I would get in very stressful situations, I would literally, my throat would close. I would choke to death. But once I understood where that came from, I'm not ruled by it anymore. And that wasn't even a past life thing. That was a this body thing. Let's see. Okay, I'm just going to quickly read this poem, and I found it just as I was digging around before we started today. And I read it the other day, and I think it has a whole lot to do with some of the stress and pressure we're feeling right now. My brain and my heart divorced about a decade ago over who was to blame for the big mess I have become. Evidently, they couldn't be in the same room with each other. Now my head and my heart share custody of me. I stay with my brain during the week, and my heart gets me on the weekends. They never speak to one another. Instead, they give me the same note to pass to each other every week. And their notes they send to one another always say the same thing. It was your fault. On Sundays, my heart complains about how my head let me down in the past. On Wednesdays, my head lists all the times my heart screwed me up. Things and all the things for me in the future. They blame each other for the state of my life. And there's been a lot of yelling and crying. So lately I've been spending a lot of time in my gut, who serves as my unofficial therapist. Most nights I sneak out of the window down my rib cage, slide down my spine, collapse on the plush leather couch. And it's always open for me. And I just sit until the sun comes up. Last evening when I sat down, my gut asked me if I was having a hard time being caught between my head and my heart. And I said, I am. I said, I don't know if I can live with either of them anymore. My heart is always sad about something that happened yesterday, and my head is always worried about what might happen tomorrow. My gut squeezed my hand. I said, I just can't live with my mistakes of the past and my anxiety about the future. My gut smiled and said, in that case, you should go and stay with your lungs for a while. I was confused. I said, what? And if you are exhausted about your heart's obsession with fixed past and your mind's obsession with an uncertain future, your lungs are the perfect place for you. There's no yesterday in your lungs. There's no tomorrow in your lungs. There's only now. There's only the inhale. There's only the exhale. There's only this moment. There's only breath. And in that breath, you can rest while your heart and your head work their relationship out. This morning, while my head and my heart were while my head was busily reading tea leaves, and while my heart was staring at the old photographs, I packed a little bag and walked to the door of my lungs. And before I could even knock, she opened the door, and with a smile and a gust of air, she embraced me and said, "What took you so long?" That's a poem by a writer named John Rodell, Roedel. He's got some other good ones over there. I think that's kind of where we all are. We all need to get in our lungs. Just breathe. Live in the moment you have. And I saw a lot of people living in the past when I was throwing stones today. And I really hope this helps you, because I know all of you all being out there has really helped me. And go look at my website, look at my grids, see if they intrigue you. The eggs work. I already have gotten notes back from people who got this round, and they say that they really, really are enjoying working with them. They're kind of a jolt at first, but once you get used to it, they're a lot of fun. And otherwise, I have a show up this weekend, and I get to do my taxes this weekend, which is another head and heart fight. Anyway, I look forward to seeing all of you next week. I'm going to try to be better about setting up shows on a regular basis. I'm looking for some new people to bring on and to inform us about what's going on, and to kind of keep up with the community. Remember, spirit, love, and light, and we are winning in this war. Because I have people call me up and they say, "I'm so afraid." I'm like, don't get into projection of fear. That means you're projecting how things have worked out for you before. Look at them turning out great and see what happens. Try it on for us. Just try it on. And I look forward to seeing you. Thank you so much. And you have a lovely weekend.